Before the city's apex academic trials, I, as was customary, clinched the premier spot. My academic counterpart, Leo, eyed me with a glint of resentment. "Adrian, you're truly remarkable. Your standing hasn't wavered since our freshman year." Before I could respond, a cascade of floating text materialized before my eyes. Ha! This secondary character remains blissfully unaware that his achievements are merely a prelude for the true protagonist. Good. He deserves it. Why should Adrian be handed everything: a wealthy lineage, a swarm of admirers, and a guaranteed slot at the capital's most prestigious university? Individuals born with such inherent advantages should yield to someone like Leo, who has battled relentlessly and never falters. Observe. The system bestowed upon Leo a trump card: 3 opportunities to exchange every facet of the supporting character's existence. From this moment, Leo will ascend. My heart fluttered, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile toyed with my lips. Could this be a divine intervention? When the comprehensive results of the city's academic trials were publicized, my designation still resided, unyielding, at the zenith of the roster. The entire cohort encircled me, their voices a clamor of animated chatter. "Adrian, your admission to the capital's premier university is practically sealed." They might even extend an early invitation. "We're utterly green with envy." Unlike us, still submerged in study materials, terrified of faltering during the actual examination. As they regarded me with gazes brimming with covetousness, I merely curved my lips in a gesture of disinterest, directing my gaze towards the window. A pair of free-flying finches outside captivated my attention. "Adrian, your prowess is truly astounding. Your academic performance hasn't diminished since freshman year." With the chime of the class bell, the students dispersed, leaving only Leo, my academic counterpart, addressing me in a subdued tone. I drew my focus inward, observing Leo. His attire was unadorned, and his words bore a trace of awkwardness. And then, the scrolling commentaries recommenced line after line, disparaging me while extolling Leo. "Pa, Adrian. He's nothing but a privileged scion, born with a golden spoon. Would he retain these distinctions without an elite upbringing and influential connections?" Precisely. The genuine inspiration is Leo having carved his path from a remote highland village. Though his current standing hovers around the 50th percentile, everyone acknowledges the immense dedication he's invested. I remain silent. I don't dispute Leo's arduous background nor his diligent pursuit of a different destiny. However, the commitment requisite for consistent top-tier performance is not something to be flippantly dismissed with a casual. He originates from a prosperous background. Awakening at 3 a.m. daily for practice modules, studying until 11 p.m., and subsisting on merely 4 hours of sleep each night. Only the cosmos knows the arduousness of my survival. "I aspire to be in your position, Adrian." Leo sighed, his countenance flickering. I understood that this was no mere casual remark. And with those translucent commentaries adrift in the air, I grasped with undeniable clarity Leo genuinely yearned to exchange my existence for his own. "Leo, everyone carves their own trajectory. You're performing commendably. With your current standing, securing entry into a distinguished institution is not an insurmountable task. A promising future awaits you." I endeavored to offer solace. What one procures through individual exertion is invariably more dependable than what is merely bestowed. "You wouldn't comprehend. Your entire existence has already been meticulously charted for you." Leo slumped over his desk, murmuring indistinctly. I unfolded my examination paper and followed as the instructor reviewed the solutions, no longer attending to him. What remains unobtainable always appears more desirable. Yet, benevolent words cannot redeem a condemned spirit. If Leo truly intends to employ his 3 exchanges upon me, then let him not hold me accountable for forsaking our 3 years of shared companionship. In truth, my rapport with Leo had been quite amiable. It was even I who had initially sought to be seated beside him. Back in our freshman year, he stood out conspicuously and uncomfortably amidst the procession of new enrollees. His garments faded from countless launderings, his darkened complexion rendering him entirely incongruous among the others. The students around him instinctively maintained their distance, whispering amongst themselves while casting condescending glances, occasionally emitting snickers. I furrowed my brow as I observed Leo attempting to conceal his face like an ostrich. Clearing my throat, I approached and stood beside him, casting a calm gaze upon the nearby students. Only then did the schoolyard torment cease. "I'm Adrian Vance. A pleasure to meet you," I stated evenly to the still cowering Leo. He looked up in surprise, his eyes meeting mine, pristine, impeccably groomed, and self-assured, then responded with a hint of self-consciousness. "Hello, I'm Leo." I offered him a subtle smile. "From this point forward, we share this academic journey. Let us look out for one another." When the class was apportioning seats, predictably, no one wished to be seated with Leo. Though unstated directly, the expressions of aversion in their eyes profoundly impacted this individual who had journeyed from a rural mountain hamlet. Standing at the forefront of the classroom once more, he regressed into an ostrich. Observing him on the verge of tears, I sighed, raised my hand, and addressed the instructor. "Sir, permit him to sit with me." In that moment, Leo's eyes brimmed with gratitude. Cognizant of Leo's challenging circumstances, I didn't hesitate to offer additional assistance. Daily, during the midday meal in the dining hall, I would request 2 supplementary meat dishes. I would feign an inability to consume them entirely and present them to Leo. Initially, he would display embarrassment and attempt to decline. However, over time, he acclimatized and ceased his objections. As soon as I extended the food, he would consume it ravenously, as if he had been deprived for days. Over the ensuing 3 years, Leo transformed from a gaunt, dark-skinned country boy into a tall, robust, and spirited young man. In our second year, we faced the choice between humanities and sciences. Leo resolutely decided to pursue the scientific track solely because I had. I attempted to reason with him. Leo, you should forge your own path. You are demonstrably more adept at the humanities. Why abandon it? But he steadfastly shook his head. I cannot continue in the humanities. Without your presence, I would be utterly disoriented in the class. I wouldn't even be able to concentrate on my studies. Adrian, only by adhering to your proximity can I adequately focus on my academics. And furthermore, even if I initially encounter difficulties, with your assistance, I am confident I can catch up. When I was unable to dissuade him, I had no recourse but to permit it. Subsequent to the class, Serafina bounded over from the adjacent classroom, placing a box of artisanal confections upon my desk. Adrian, these are confections my parents procured from abroad. Following that, she casually reclined upon my desk, as was her custom, and initiated conversation. They desire your presence this weekend. It has been an interval since their last encounter with you. Our families had maintained close ties for generations. Indeed, our betrothal had been pre-arranged since our early years. The female lead has finally materialized and she is as exquisite as anticipated. Small wonder she is the campus's aesthetic marvel. Precisely. Once our comrade Leo completes the exchange and aligns with her, he will ascend the social hierarchy by virtue of her influential lineage. But that is for a later juncture. Leo will defer the exchange of Adrian's familial background until after university, to bolster his professional trajectory. That is when he and the maiden will truly unite. So, he intends to appropriate my family after university. I silently etched the floating text into my memory. Adrian, are you even attentive? Serafina waved her hand before my face, clearly perturbed by my inattention. Serafina, do not fault Adrian. He is likely under considerable duress lately. He frequently becomes distracted. I have reminded him repeatedly, but it is to no avail. I am genuinely concerned that if he persists in this manner, he will be unable to sustain his academic distinctions. Leo interjected, ostensibly expressing concern, yet every utterance was barbed, implying my diminished focus and waning diligence. What concern is it of yours, my conversation with Adrian? Serafina retorted. If you possess such leisure, concern yourself first. Even at his nadir, Adrian surpasses you. I was cognizant of Serafina's temperament. As a privileged heiress, she harbored no deference for individuals like Leo, who behaved obsequiously. Over the past 3 years, she had frequently voiced grievances about him to me, advising me to maintain distance, even asserting he brought misfortune. As if on cue, more scrolling commentaries traversed my vision. Let someone put me out of my misery. Classic Sundara paradigm. The more intense her current aversion, the more profound her future affection. Persist in your remonstrations, Serafina. You remain unaware of the extent to which you will subsequently rely upon Leo. I observed calmly as Serafina berated Leo until his countenance turned crimson. After a moment, I intervened to halt her. Enough, Serafina. Leo harbored no ill intent. Inform your parents I shall visit. Only then did Serafina cast one final, sidelong glance at Leo. With a huff, she elevated her chin and strode from the classroom. Truly. Serafina was addressing Adrian. What business was it of yours, Leo? No one solicited your opinion. He was essentially inviting ridicule. The laughter and derision from the class caused Leo to clench his fists. I lowered my head, disengaged, and resumed reviewing my examination paper. Yet, I could still sense Leo's sidelong glances, no longer imbued with gratitude, but with an intensifying, bitter resentment. Leo, is there anything you've found difficult lately? It's been some time since you've consulted me on any academic challenges. Just before departing for home after school, I inquired of Leo. His hand, midway through securing his satchel, paused for a fleeting second. Then, he adopted a feigned light-hearted tone and responded, "There's nothing I require assistance with anymore." He offered a bitter smile, the corners of his mouth upturned. Besides, no matter my efforts, I shall never surmount you, the indisputable apex. Ugh, he is deliberately inciting our Leo. What an ostentatious display. Proceed, revel in your momentary eminence. Everything you possess shall soon belong to Leo. Let us witness your arrogance then. I cannot tolerate these coddled, affluent youths. What comprehension do you possess of Leo's struggles? Do you believe being born with a head start grants you the prerogative to disdain the rest of us? Reading the scrolling commentaries, I finally comprehended they mirrored Leo, envious, embittered, incapable of tolerating the success of another, hence, their unquestioning support for Leo. Yet, still, ultimately, I desired to retrieve this companion of 3 years from the brink. Leo, that which you acquire through your own endeavors, that is what you can truly depend upon. Shortcuts invariably precipitate a downfall. There remains time, exert your utmost. A promising future still awaits you. Enough, Leo shouted, slamming his satchel forcefully onto the desk. What right do you possess to lecture me? You, born at the pinnacle of the societal construct, do you comprehend the circumstances of individuals such as ourselves? Speaking of diligent effort as if it were that effortless. Adrian, even if I poured my entire being into it, I could never attain your level. He seized his satchel and stormed from the classroom without a backward glance. I gazed intently at his retreating form and murmured to myself, Leo, this is my final admonition. The choice is yours. If you insist upon making the erroneous one, do not fault me for severing our bond. Adrian, I was not in a favorable state yesterday. Do not take it personally, I was merely uttering nonsense. The following morning, no sooner had he entered the classroom than Leo approached me with a broad grin, attempting to explain away the previous day's events. I nodded slightly, indicating it was of no consequence. I had not taken it to heart. He slung an arm around my shoulder. I knew my comrade Adrian would not harbor resentment, but he remained oblivious to the sheer artifice of that smile upon his countenance at that moment. The bell chimed. Our homeroom mentor entered, and Leo swiftly returned to his seat, composing himself. 3 days hence, the capital's premier university will be conducting an exclusive assessment for a select group of high-achieving students. Those with exceptional performances may even be granted early admission. If any student in this class wishes to participate, you may sign up now. The mentor looked directly at me. It was evident he desired my participation. I raised my hand. Sir, I wish to undertake the assessment. He nodded in affirmation and then surveyed the remainder of the class. Anyone else? No sooner had he concluded than Leo eagerly raised his hand. Sir, I too wish to undertake it. The mentor looked at Leo and furrowed his brows. He hesitated for a moment, then stated with some reluctance, Leo, this assessment was formulated by experts from the capital's premier university. It is even more challenging than the actual college entrance examination. I believe it is best if you concentrate on preparing for the standard university entrance exam. Leo bit his lip, clearly suppressing frustration. Sir, are you implying I am inadequate? His words cornered the mentor. Apprehensive of being accused of student discrimination, the mentor stammered, No, I merely intended that we should focus on areas where we can excel. Ugh, I cannot tolerate this instructor elevating one student merely to disparage another. What leads you to believe our Leo cannot manage it? Precisely. No one can impede Leo's participation. This marks his initial exchange. He is poised to seize Adrian's assessment performance and reveal his true capabilities to the capital's university faculty. Yes. That way, when Leo employs the second exchange to appropriate Adrian's actual university entrance exam score, it will appear justified. He will even gain acceptance by that renowned professor and become their most promising protege. And just like that, everything clicked into place. So, Leo's 3 exchanges would encompass, one for the capital's university selective assessment, one for my university entrance exam results, and the final for my family. I observed Leo, his eyes slightly reddened, embodying the role of the wronged victim. I quietly inquired, You are certain you wish to proceed with this? Leo turned to me and nodded without hesitation. Observing him so determined to appropriate all that was mine, I considered for a moment, then raised my hand again to address the mentor. Sir, permit Leo to undertake it. If he desires to attempt it, let him. The mentor had been seeking a means to gently dissuade Leo, something that would not wound his pride. But since I had already spoken on Leo's behalf, he finally relented. I turned to Leo, who was now visibly excited. Leo, do not burden yourself excessively. Simply make an attempt. Adrian, I shall exert my utmost. Who knows, perhaps I shall surpass you this time. You would be wise not to fall behind. Leo's voice brimmed with confidence and I detected a trace of coldness flashing through his eyes. At midday, in the dining hall, Leo, as expected, came to sit beside me. Just then, Serafina appeared with a few of her companions and approached. Adrian, I overheard you registered for the capital's university's early admission assessment. I nodded as I continued to consume my meal. Yes, I intend to give it a try. Serafina, as if stating the most self-evident truth, added, This assessment was essentially tailored for you. If you merely term it a try, then no one else even merits participation. At that instant, Leo abruptly slammed his eating utensils onto his tray. I registered as well. I perceived no reason I should not. Serafina glanced at Leo's self-assured demeanor and emitted a derisive laugh. You? and you possess no shame in articulating that aloud. Leo's countenance flushed with indignation, his neck reddening as his chest heaved with frustration. I am not jesting, and I believe this time I shall achieve a superior score to Adrian. Serafina erupted in laughter. That is the most ludicrous assertion I have heard in my entire existence. Leo, who imbued you with such audacity? A divine inspiration? Leo's eyes darted slyly before he attempted to provoke her. You disbelieve me? How about we formalize a wager? Serafina glanced at him with disdain. What is there to disbelieve? Agreed. What shall be the stake? Leo responded immediately. If I successfully pass the assessment and attain a score superior to Adrian's, you consent to become my romantic partner. And if you fail? Then I shall address you as elder matron whenever our paths cross and maintain a distance of at least 10 paces. Serafina consented without hesitation. Agreed. But she failed to notice the glint in Leo's eyes, possessive, avaricious. I gently tapped my fingers upon the table. All right, enough. We are no longer children. Cease this childish behavior. Only then did Serafina and Leo settle down and consume their food quietly. But the subtle smile playing at the corners of Leo's lips made it clear he was far from calm internally. Perhaps I gazed at him too directly, because Leo swiftly expunged the grin from his face and leaned in to explain softly. Adrian, do not misinterpret. I merely cannot tolerate Serafina's constant haughty demeanor. I wished to humble her. Everyone knows you and Serafina have been betrothed since childhood. I would never dream of attempting to alienate her from you. And in any case, there is no possibility I could achieve a higher score than you, unless a miraculous event transpires. I did not respond. I simply turned back to my tray and continued eating, but I still overheard Leo muttering to himself in a low voice, followed by a dry chuckle. In this world, anything can occur. I, Leo, am poised to orchestrate a miracle. Today marked the release of the early admission assessment results, and the scrolling commentaries had already commenced their wild proliferation from early morning. Prepare yourselves. Our comrade Leo is about to deliver a resounding rebuke. Ha ha. This may be a modest stride on Leo's path to triumph, but it represents a monumental leap in altering his destiny. Popcorn and carbonated beverage at the ready. I cannot wait to witness Adrian's countenance when he comprehends what has just transpired. They were all eagerly anticipating the moment Leo would exchange my results, ascend in glory, and utterly humiliate me. Adrian, how do you feel? Results are almost available. Do you believe you have succeeded? Before our homeroom mentor arrived to verify the results, Leo leaned in closely, probing for information. I believe it went adequately. Hearing my confident response, Leo exhaled a long sigh and smiled from ear to ear. Adrian, I too felt quite confident about this one. Who knows, perhaps I actually surpassed you this time. He winked at me playfully. When you forfeit your premier position, do not become overly distressed. All right, I waved a hand casually. If your score truly is superior to mine, then it is a testament to your diligent effort. Why would I be incensed? Leo scratched his head and offered a sheepish laugh. Indeed, all diligent effort, naturally. LOL. Observing Leo subtly manipulate Adrian is truly amusing. I cannot wait to witness Adrian dissolve into tears while Leo comforts him, and Adrian might even express gratitude for it. The scrolling commentaries buzzed with excitement, already celebrating Leo's supposed victory. All right, who wishes to check first? The homeroom mentor entered and activated the computer to access our results. Let Adrian proceed first. We can commence with the favorable news, Leo said, gently nudging me towards the front. I stepped forward and provided the mentor with my assessment identification. The network loaded sluggishly, and then the page appeared. Every subject enumerated, followed by a colossal 0. The mentor had just taken a sip of tea and promptly spat it all over the screen, his eyes bulging wide in disbelief. Adrian, 0 points? I glanced to the side. Leo was doing his utmost to conceal the grin creeping up his face, but the corners of his lips were still lifting. I had assumed he merely intended to exchange our scores. I had not anticipated him to utterly obliterate my result, to crucify me upon a pillar of ignominy and tarnish my image before the capital's university examiners. Adrian, how could you possibly? My apologies, mentor. Perhaps something went awry during the assessment, but I accept the outcome. I remained calm and composed. The mentor, clearly distressed, began attempting to assist me. Should I contact the capital's university and have them retrieve your examination paper? I shook my head. No need to inconvenience them, sir. But Adrian, this is a rare opportunity. Sir, Adrian has already stated he accepts it. Leo interrupted, seizing the moment to cut the mentor off. You can let it go. You haven't checked my score yet. The mentor had no choice. With a helpless glance toward me, he turned back to the computer and began typing. Adrian, it is acceptable. One misstep does not define you. You are a top student. The true university entrance examination remains ahead. Everyone falters occasionally. Do not let it dismay you. I nodded nonchalantly. Leo, observing my lack of reaction, none of the frustration or heartbreak he had hoped for to highlight his triumph, finally smacked his lips and redirected his attention to the screen. Leo, your result, also 0. The homeroom mentor sprayed out another mouthful of tea, this time fully ashamed both students he had personally recommended had scored 0. This cannot be. How is this possible? Leo's face went pale with panic. He suddenly shoved the mentor aside and rushed up to the computer, frantically refreshing the page repeatedly. There must be a mistake. There has to be a mistake. 0? No way, he muttered over and over again, frantically tapping the mouse as if doing it faster could alter the result. But the screen remained unyielding. It still displayed 0. Leo, it is acceptable. One misstep does not matter. There is still the university entrance examination, I said, mirroring his own words from earlier. Everyone falters occasionally. Do not take it to heart. Adrian, this is your doing. What did you do? Leo turned and seized me by the collar, yelling in a rage, teeth clenched. Leo, what are you asserting? I do not comprehend. I spread my hands in feigned innocence, as if I truly had no notion of his meaning. That's enough. The mentor quickly separated us. Scoring a monumental 0 is insufficient. You wish to instigate a confrontation as well. Only then did Leo, eyes bloodshot and brimming with hatred, finally release me. What am I to do with you two? Just observe this disarray. He was about to launch into a diatribe when his communication device began to chime. Rolling his eyes at both of us, he answered the call. Yes, Dean. Yes, they are present. Understood. I shall send him over. After concluding the call, he pointed at me. Adrian, someone is requesting your presence in the dean's office. Proceed now. Upon my return to the classroom from the dean's office, Leo sat there alone, silently. Those in his vicinity kept glancing his way, then lowered their heads, whispering and emitting bursts of laughter. He actually registered for the assessment himself and scored a 0. What a disgrace. He truly overestimated himself. I mean, Adrian also received a 0, but that was clearly attributable to some unforeseen incident or unexpected circumstance. But Leo claimed it was an accident too. Yeah, right, who would credit that? Leo's countenance darkened with anger, his hands tightly clenched in his lap. This is not the intended trajectory of the narrative. Why has Leo not executed his resurgence? What is transpiring? How did he end up neck and neck with Adrian? No idea. Let us persist in our observation. I pressed my lips together and smiled. Just await, scrolling commentaries, you shall never witness the scene you anticipate in this lifetime. Seeing me return, Leo forced a strained smile. Adrian, you are back. What did the dean wish to discuss with you? I shrugged. He merely wished to inquire about my score this time. Indeed, Adrian, how did you end up with a 0? Leo asked anxiously, clearly eager to ascertain the reason. Deep down, he harbored a sinking sensation as if events were slipping further and further beyond his control. On the day of the assessment, I consumed something disagreeable. I experienced abdominal discomfort and was disoriented throughout, so I inadvertently recorded my responses in the incorrect sections. In some instances, I was so impaired I merely scrawled barely legible messes. I sighed and adopted a helpless expression. Upon hearing that, Leo appeared even more frustrated, as if a breath of air was trapped in his chest. After a pause, he mumbled, Adrian, you must exercise caution. The university entrance examination is paramount. You cannot allow this sort of occurrence again. I nodded repeatedly. You are entirely correct. I must exercise greater circumspection. No more arbitrary consumption. What a waste of such a propitious opportunity. Leo remained silent. He also feared I would inquire about his 0 score and his embarrassing outburst in the office. He desired to consign the entire affair to oblivion, but Serafina harbored no intention of granting him such reprieve. Well, isn't this the shameless Leo who boasted of making a spectacular debut? I'll concede you certainly created a sensation, though in a highly unforeseen manner. The moment she stepped into the dining hall, Serafina raised her voice for all the students to hear. Serafina, it was merely one assessment. Errors occur. Adrian also received a 0, did he not? Leo struggled to defend himself. I have asserted it before. What comparison can you draw with Adrian? Adrian received a 0 because he elected not to take it seriously. Ask anyone here who truly believes it was due to a deficiency in his ability. The surrounding students all cooperatively shook their heads. No one believed that I, an individual who consistently held the city's premier rank, received a 0 due to a lack of knowledge. And even if Adrian did not gain early admission, he would still encounter no difficulty with the standard university entrance examination. Can you, Leo, guarantee the same for yourself? Serafina pressed on, firing her words towards Leo relentlessly. Serafina had always been a privileged heiress who never afforded anyone an easy escape. At times, her ruthlessness even caused me to shudder. Why not? Anything is possible in this world. Leo retorted, unwilling to yield in the slightest. Ha! All talk, merely empty bluster. Forget the future, let us settle our wager right now. What are you obligated to call me? Serafina cared not if Leo's dignity was about to be trampled. She desired him to honor the agreement then and there. Leo scanned the room, searching for any opportunity to elude. But the students who had congregated to witness the drama had already sealed off the area tightly, leaving not even the smallest aperture. Serafina, show some clemency. We may be forced to encounter each other again in the future. Put. Serafina looked utterly disgusted. Every time I perceive you, I feel nauseated. Who desires to perceive you again? Just utter it, Leo. Are you a man or not? Can you uphold a promise or not? With nowhere to escape, Leo reverted to his former self from freshman year, head hanging low, muttering angrily under his breath, elder matron. Serafina beamed with satisfaction. What did you articulate? Speak up. Who can hear you speaking thus? Leo suddenly looked up and shouted, elder matron. Okay, and with that, he shoved his way through the crowd and stormed out of the dining hall. When I returned to the classroom, I observed Leo sitting with his head lowered, furiously scribbling something in his notebook. As I passed by and glanced down, I saw the pages full of, "You vixen, one day you shall be prostrate before me. Sooner or later, you shall supplicate me." At that moment, the scrolling commentaries reappeared, expressing sympathy for Leo, who was being tormented by Serafina. Poor Leo, it is entirely Adrian's fault. Why could he not have performed adequately on the assessment? Precisely. Now Leo's reputation lies in ruins because of him. No worries, Leo still retains 2 exchanges. Adrian is doomed. The truth is, Leo had been perpetually dancing back and forth in front of Serafina, desperately attempting to capture her attention. In the end, when he failed and was humiliated, somehow I became the scapegoat. Well, those scrolling commentaries speak volumes about the individuals posting them. As Leo observed me approaching, he swiftly closed his notebook and forced a smile that appeared worse than a grimace. Adrian, you are back. Only a few weeks remain until the university entrance examination. How is your revision progressing? I have everything under control. Nothing is going to go awry. Seeing my confidence, Leo hastened to advise me, still, you should not lower your guard. What if something akin to the early admissions incident recurs? Observing Leo, who seemed even more concerned than I was, I knew he had not yet relinquished his intent. He had clearly resolved to exchange my examination score. The accident with early admissions will not occur in the actual examination. I tapped my temple. After all, that knowledge is already deeply embedded within my mind. What you truly learn will always be yours. Otherwise, the truth will eventually emerge. Do you not concur, Leo? I offered him a subtle warning. Leo's eyes flickered, and he gave an awkward laugh. You are not mistaken. Still, better safe than sorry. One must reinforce and consolidate to avert unforeseen complications. Leo was so apprehensive that something might befall me during the university entrance examination that, despite his financial constraints, he actually took it upon himself to provide all my meals merely to ensure I would not suffer food poisoning again. Whenever I so much as became distracted in class, he would immediately tap me on the arm to redirect my attention. It felt less like having a classmate beside me and more like sitting adjacent to a homeroom mentor. On the final day before the examination, as we were about to separate, he pulled me aside and earnestly advised, Adrian, I know you are astute and capable, but do not become arrogant. Many individuals have stumbled in the final stretch. I nodded casually, amused, and stated, you be careful as well. You may not quite be Capital University material, but you should encounter no difficulty gaining entry into another respectable institution. Upon hearing that, a peculiar smile crept onto Leo's countenance. Do not fret, Adrian. We are kin, are we not? If you prosper, I prosper. If you falter, I falter too. As long as you ace the examination, I shall be fine. He waved and walked away. I observed his retreating back, my gaze sharpening. Leo, if you self-destruct, do not blame anyone else. Then came the excited scrolling commentaries again. Ho ho! The culmination approaches. Adrian, you are finished. The secondary character is about to exit, merely one final scene remaining in a few years. I smirked. You all desire a spectacle? Fine. I shall provide you with an absolutely splendid one. Immediately after the university entrance examination concluded, Leo promptly contacted me. Adrian, how did it transpire? Nothing went awry, did it? After asking multiple times to confirm everything had proceeded smoothly for me, Leo finally terminated the call only after insisting we return to the academy together to ascertain our scores. Time elapsed swiftly. On the eve prior to the score release, we were all back at the academy, assembled in the homeroom mentor's office, awaiting to verify our results as soon as the clock struck midnight. Adrian, this time my score is definitively going to astound you. The moment he saw me, Leo began to gloat. I have already estimated my score this time. The Capital's University presents no obstacle for me. Well, that is remarkable, Leo. I played along with his boasting, and he became even more conceited, immediately turning to brag to the classmates who used to look down on him. I just quietly stared at the clock on the wall, awaiting the arrival of midnight. As the clock struck 12, everyone who had been half asleep moments before suddenly perked up and rushed over to the homeroom mentor. Mentor, check mine first. My assessment identification is. One by one, the results materialized. Some were overjoyed, others disappointed. In the end, only Leo and I remained. Just then, Seraphina, who had checked her results in the adjacent room, also arrived, clearly awaiting to witness my results. I stepped forward and entered my assessment identification myself. I concealed nothing. The screen loaded directly. Adrian, 0, just like in the early admission assessment, a row of zeros followed each subject. Oh no, Adrian, what happened? How did this recur? Leo adopted a feigned sympathetic countenance and offered me a few words of comfort before pushing me aside and eagerly typing in his own assessment identification. Open your eyes, everyone. Prepare to witness greatness. It is coming. Leo's score is about to appear. You detractors, prepare to tremble and venerate our Leo. Even the scrolling commentaries were becoming hyped along with Leo, but in an instant, the screen silenced them all. Leo, 0, exactly the same. Zeros across the board. How could this be? How could this transpire? Leo stumbled back and fell to the floor. Leo, are you all right? Persevere. I pretended to help him up while leaning my head close to his ear. Leo, well, surprised? Do you appreciate the small gift I bestowed upon you? This was all your design. Leo shoved me aside, eyes wild with fury. You knew it all along, did you not? You orchestrated this both instances. In front of our classmates, I calmly brushed the dust from my clothes. It appears Leo is somewhat perturbed. I mean, it is the university entrance examination. We all understand I lack the power to orchestrate such events. The contrast between us could not have been more striking, identical 0 scores, yet I was calm and composed while Leo was utterly losing control. His outburst earned him another round of scornful glances from the others. Why would you do this? You dragged both of us down, nobody benefits. Leo completely disregarded the observing students and continued shouting at me like a madman. Sigh. Mentor, did you not already elucidate it to him? I glanced at our homeroom mentor, whose expression was difficult to decipher. The mentor shook his head. You requested I maintain secrecy to avoid unsettling the others, so I remained silent. I feigned sudden realization. Precisely, my apologies, mentor. That was my oversight. Then I produced a missive from my pocket, a letter of commendation from a professor at the Capitals University. That early admission assessment where I received a 0, well, it was because I recorded all the answers on the scratch paper. I did not write a single response on the actual examination sheet. At the time, I presumed I would simply abandon it. But who would have thought the professors at the Capitals University would be so meticulous? They reviewed my scratch paper and realized. I deliberately elongated my words, locking eyes with Leo, who was seething with hatred. My answers were flawless. When I went to the dean's office that day, it was to confer with the Capitals University professor about it. I waved the letter in my hand. So, during the actual university entrance examination, I did not even bother to answer, because the Capitals University had already pledged to admit me. Leo lunged forward, attempting to snatch the letter, but the other students swiftly restrained him. Seraphina did not miss the opportunity to mock him. This Leo is truly something else. He has been obsessed with comparing himself to Adrian, even though the chasm between them is light years wide. Leo still struggled, shouting, Adrian, why did you do this to me? Me? You believe I ruined you? I finally dropped the act, my voice sharp. I treated you like a brother since freshman year. Everyone here witnessed my concern for you. But what of you? What did you do? Leo's eyes burned with hatred and envy. Do not give me that brother nonsense. All you ever did was toss me crumbs out of pity. I have never accepted that you possessed everything from the outset. If I were in your position, I would be even more accomplished than you. Do not become arrogant, Adrian. You comprehend nothing. I still possess a trump card. Everything you possess, it all belongs to me. Leo roared like a madman, eyes filled with determination. Yes, yes. Leo still holds one final exchange. This is it, the ultimate comeback. Adrian, prepare to fawn and grovel like the secondary character you are. Even now, the scrolling commentaries were cheering for him. As I observed Leo, a flicker of anticipation danced within my heart. System, I desire to exchange Adrian's family. I wish to supplant Adrian. After shouting that, Leo let out a triumphant laugh. I had intended to await my admission to the Capitals University to ascertain if a more advantageous family existed for exchange. But now that you have ruined everything, I am dragging you down to the bottom with me, Adrian. Your parents, your fiancée Serafina, they shall all be mine from this moment forward. With that, he shoved aside the stunned classmates and threw his arm around Serafina. I knew after this, there would be no more of Adrian's family, only Leo's. But Leo did not witness the reaction he desired on my countenance. No panic, no fear. Just a look of relief, as though a burden had been lifted. Leo, I once told you anything bestowed upon you by others never truly belongs to you, and there is always a price to pay, even of family. I looked at him with calm eyes. So, thank you, Leo. Thank you for liberating me from that burden. Leo's pupils constricted. A wave of dread swept over him. What do you mean by that? But before I could answer, the office door slammed open with a bang. Young master, dire news. The Corporate Oversight Bureau and Fiscal Authority are auditing the family enterprise. The stock price is plummeting. A middle-aged man, my former chauffeur, rushed in and seized Leo by the arm. Your parents instructed me to retrieve you immediately. We must return home and formulate a solution. Leo shoved the man's arm away in disbelief, attempting to convince himself it wasn't real. No way. I just exchanged into this family. How can they already be in distress? I shrugged. This is the family you so coveted. Well, now it is your predicament to resolve. Young Master Leo. Leo gritted his teeth at my lightly mocking tone. Do not be smug, Adrian. I shall devise a solution. He turned and seized Serafina. Serafina, you are my betrothed. My family is in distress. Can your family provide assistance? But to Leo's disappointment, Serafina shoved him away in disgust. Release me. Who in the heavens is your fiancé? Our betrothal was merely a strategic alliance, two influential families uniting. But now, your family is facing ruin. Do not even attempt to assert ties with me. I observed the two of them struggle, then slowly applauded. Leo, did you genuinely believe Serafina was clinging to me because she was fond of me? It was entirely about benefit, advantage, profit. Now you finally perceive the cost of taking what you did not earn. The scrolling commentaries erupted. No wonder the system delayed Leo's exchange into Adrian Vance's life until after university. It was concealing the bankruptcy twist. So, originally, it was Adrian who salvaged the Vance family from the brink. This clarifies why Adrian and Serafina had a childhood betrothal but never actually solemnized their union. Leo was forcibly escorted away by the chauffeur, and the students who had arrived to verify their scores